My mentor once told me that in your 30s, your body forgives you. In your 60s, it starts keeping score. And by 70, every bite becomes a decision, a vote for either health or harm. Welcome back to Mind and Master, the channel where we don't just talk about growing older, we talk about growing wiser. I'm Dr. Charles, and in today's video, we're uncovering a truth that shocked even me as a neurologist. Some of the fruits you've always believed to be healthy could be raising your risk of stroke overnight, especially if you're over 60. And I don't mean rare, exotic fruits. I'm talking about bananas, grapes, oranges. Yes, even those. Speech balloon, you may be wondering, how could something so natural, so wholesome, hurt me? Well, as the great Dr. Andrew Weil once said, food can either be the safest form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. This video isn't about fear, it's about understanding. Because when you understand, you gain power to make better choices, ask smarter questions, and protect the most valuable asset you have, your brain. So let me ask you this. Have you ever gone to bed feeling fine and woke up confused, dizzy, or numb? Could that sweet midnight snack be part of the reason? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll not only know what to avoid, but also how to eat smarter, live longer, and guard your mind for the years ahead. This might be the most important video you watch all year. Part 1. The banana mistake: potassium overload in aging bodies. Have you ever gone to sleep feeling perfectly fine, and then suddenly woken up to slurred speech or a paralyzed arm? For one of my patients, that was exactly how his stroke began. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Raymond, a 66-year-old retired carpenter from Ohio. He was healthy, walked every day, and never smoked. In fact, he was the type of person you'd expect to live to 90. Every morning, Raymond would slice a banana over his oatmeal and take his blood pressure medication with a glass of orange juice. It was a routine he thought was keeping him healthy. One morning, however, his wife found him collapsed in their bathroom. He couldn't move the left side of his body. His speech was incomprehensible. A CT scan at the hospital revealed a stroke. So what happened? Raymond's blood work showed critically elevated potassium levels, a condition called hyperkalemia. Turns out, bananas, which are high in potassium, became dangerous when combined with his ACE inhibitors and mild kidney decline that naturally occurs with age. His kidneys were no longer filtering potassium effectively, and the excess had started interfering with his heart rhythm and blood clotting ability. According to the National Kidney Foundation, over 37 million Americans have kidney disease, and most don't even know it. As we age, our kidney function naturally slows, even without disease. That means older adults are more vulnerable to imbalances like this, especially when on medications that affect how minerals are processed. Just one large banana contains over 450 mg of potassium. That might not be a concern for a healthy 30-year-old, but in someone over 60 taking blood pressure medications, that dose can be risky, especially when consumed at night. Nighttime is when blood circulation slows, hydration dips, and medications are still active in the bloodstream. All these factors combine to create what I call the midnight trap. stiffened arteries, sticky blood, and increased stroke risk. So what's the solution? If you're over 60 and on any heart or kidney medications, stick to half a banana per day. Eat it in the morning, never before bed. Pair it with protein or fat, like Greek yogurt or almonds, to slow potassium absorption. And most importantly, talk to your doctor about potassium intake. Because as I always say to my patients, what was healthy at 40 can be hazardous at 70. Part 2. Grapes, the sweet fruit that can sour brain health. Now let's talk about grapes. They look innocent, right? Tiny, sweet, refreshing. Often the go-to snack at family gatherings or a bowl you keep on your counter to nibble on during the day. But here's what most people over 60 don't realize. Grapes are a concentrated source of natural sugars, specifically glucose and fructose, that can cause dramatic spikes in your blood sugar levels. And for aging adults, that sugar rush can quietly damage your blood vessels, especially those that feed the brain. Let's ground this in research. According to a 2023 report from the World Health Organization, over 422 million people worldwide are living with diabetes, and a significant percentage of them are seniors. Even more concerning is that many older adults are in a pre-diabetic state without even knowing it. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly, it causes a condition called glycation, which stiffens and inflames blood vessel linings. Dr. Walter Willett, a professor of epidemiology and nutrition at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, once said, "We used to believe that only added sugars were the enemy, but excessive natural sugar without fiber or protein can be just as risky in older adults." Grapes are especially dangerous when eaten alone in large quantities or at night. Why? Because during sleep, insulin response is blunted, circulation slows, and any sugar spike hits harder. Inflammation increases, micro tears in vessel walls form, and your brain becomes vulnerable. Now, this doesn't mean you should eliminate grapes entirely. The real issue is context and quantity. Dr. Charles tips for safer grape snacking. Eat no more than one small handful, about 10–15 grapes per day. Always pair with healthy fat or protein, like cheese or almonds. Avoid eating them late in the evening. If you're pre-diabetic or insulin resistant, monitor your blood glucose after fruit intake. I always tell my patients, even nature's candy needs a chaperone. That means never letting high-sugar fruit go solo, especially after 60. Next, we'll look at one tropical fruit that's acidic, sugary, and deceptively dangerous when eaten before bed. Let's dive into pineapple. Part 3. Pineapple, the acidic trap that wreaks havoc while you sleep. Let's talk pineapple. Sweet, tangy, tropical. It feels like a healthy indulgence after a long day. For many seniors, it's the go-to dessert after dinner. Natural, juicy, and light. But here's the truth. Eating pineapple late at night could be silently stressing your cardiovascular and neurological systems. First, pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits in the typical Western diet. According to the USDA, its pH can range from 3.2 to 4.0. While that acid helps give it its refreshing tang, it also increases the risk of silent acid reflux, a condition known as laryngopharyngeal reflux, LPR. The problem: many older adults don't experience the classic heartburn symptoms. Instead, they may suffer from what the Mayo Clinic refers to as silent reflux, where stomach acid creeps up the esophagus during sleep, causing subtle airway inflammation or even microaspiration. Over time, this can reduce oxygen to the brain while you're asleep. Why does this matter? Because your brain is most vulnerable during deep sleep. It's when the body lowers blood pressure, slows heart rate, and shifts energy into cellular repair. Add acidic irritation, sugar spikes, and reduced blood oxygenation, and you create a perfect storm for neurological stress. Here's another concern. Pineapple is also high in fructose, which can raise blood sugar and promote inflammation if consumed alone. Combined with its acidity, this makes it a dangerous late-night fruit for aging bodies already struggling with vascular fragility or blood pressure instability. Rather than relying on a story or quote, let's do a comparison. Pineapple 1 cup, 16 g sugar, highly acidic, low fiber. Blueberries 1 cup, 14 g sugar, lower acidity, high in antioxidants and fiber. The takeaway: even though both are fruits, their impact on the aging brain is drastically different. Dr. Charles' recommendations for pineapple lovers: enjoy pineapple earlier in the day. Eat it in small portions, less than a half cup. Never consume it within 3 hours of bedtime. Pair it with protein or complex carbohydrates to slow digestion. As I remind my patients, the fruit that energizes you at noon may sabotage your brain at midnight. Next, we'll explore a summertime favorite that might be silently draining your system of vital fluids and thickening your blood overnight: watermelon. Part 4: Watermelon, the hydration myth and its hidden stroke risk. Watermelon is often seen as the ultimate summer fruit, refreshing, hydrating, and low in calories. But here's the catch. For older adults, especially those on medications for blood pressure or heart conditions, watermelon might be doing more harm than good. Let me break it down for you. Watermelon is a natural diuretic. That means it increases urination, which can dehydrate the body if consumed in large amounts or combined with medications that already reduce fluid volume, like diuretics or ACE inhibitors. Now, consider that many older adults already struggle with maintaining hydration due to reduced thirst perception. Add in a medication that flushes fluids and a big bowl of watermelon at dinner, and you have the recipe for thicker blood, lower blood pressure, and slower circulation. All of these conditions increase the likelihood of clot formation during sleep. According to the American Heart Association, dehydration can increase blood viscosity, making it harder for the heart to pump blood effectively, especially during the low circulation hours of night time. This is when blood clots can form silently and trigger strokes before dawn. There's also the issue of electrolyte imbalance. Watermelon contains potassium and magnesium, which are essential, but when flushed from the system too rapidly, they can create a deficit that affects heart rhythm and brain function. So what's the takeaway? Watermelon isn't bad, but it must be eaten strategically. Dr. Charles' guidelines for safer watermelon enjoyment. Limit to 1-2 small slices at a time. Eat it early in the day, not after dinner. Always pair with a pinch of salt or electrolyte-rich foods to retain fluid balance. If you're on diuretics or heart medications, consult your doctor about fruit intake. I always remind my patients, hydration is more than just water. It's about keeping your system balanced. And in our next section, we'll reveal a fruit that interacts with your medications in ways few people are warned about: oranges. Part 5. Oranges, the vitamin C giant that disrupts medication. Most of us grew up believing that oranges are the ultimate symbol of health. And for the most part, that's true. Vitamin C, hydration, fiber, antioxidants. What's not to love? But if you're over 60 and on any medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, or heart rhythm, oranges may be more dangerous than you think. Let me explain exactly why from a clinical standpoint. Citrus fruits, especially oranges, contain a compound called furanocoumarin. While natural, this compound has a powerful ability to interfere with drug metabolism in your liver. Specifically, it inhibits CYP3A4, one of the most important enzymes responsible for breaking down medications. This effect is not just theoretical. It's been documented in medical literature for decades, including in studies from the FDA and National Institutes of Health, NIH. When furanocoumarin blocks CYP3A4, your medications can build up to toxic levels in your bloodstream. Imagine taking your usual heart medication, only to find that it's lingering in your system longer and stronger than intended. The result: blood pressure may drop too low, statins may increase muscle toxicity, and blood thinners may make you more prone to internal bleeding, even stroke. Let's look at some hard evidence. According to the FDA, over 85 medications are known to be affected by grapefruit or orange juice, ranging from calcium channel blockers to cholesterol-lowering statins. One such drug, felidipine, used for hypertension, can triple in blood concentration when taken with orange juice. That's not a mild increase. That's a medical emergency waiting to happen. Dr. David Bailey, the Canadian pharmacologist who first discovered this interaction, once warned, "A single glass of grapefruit juice can cause a dangerous overdose of certain medications." The problem is, people have no idea that fruit can behave like a drug. The issue with oranges is that people don't associate them with danger. We think of them as nature's candy, as innocent as a glass of juice in the morning. But for seniors whose liver function is already reduced with age, even a small glass of orange juice can amplify drug side effects dramatically. This is exactly what happened to a patient of mine, Elmer, age 79. He took his statin and blood pressure medications each morning with orange juice, thinking he was doing his body good. But over time, he became increasingly dizzy. One morning, while rising from his recliner, he collapsed. A CT scan confirmed a small stroke, and blood work showed elevated medication levels far above therapeutic range. His liver hadn't processed the drugs properly, thanks to the orange juice. So what should you do, doctor? Charles' safety checklist for citrus. Avoid orange or grapefruit juice entirely if you're on medications, especially statins, calcium channel blockers, or blood thinners. Opt for lower furanocoumarin fruits, such as mandarins or clementines, but always in moderation. Never consume citrus within 4–6 hours of taking medication, unless cleared by your doctor. If in doubt, ask your physician or pharmacist about fruit-drug interactions. It's a simple question that could save your life. As I always tell my patients, your medicine cabinet doesn't end at the pill bottle. It continues all the way to your breakfast table. Up next, we'll talk about apples. Yes, apples. Even this symbol of good health can quietly set the stage for vascular issues in aging bodies. Part 6. Apples, the hidden risk behind the health halo. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's a phrase we've all heard since childhood. And while apples are undeniably rich in fiber and antioxidants, there's a hidden side to them that most seniors, and even some doctors, overlook. The sugar load in modern apple varieties and their surprising effects on aging bodies. Let me break this down clearly. Not all apples are created equal. Many of the most popular types sold today, like Honeycrisp, Fuji, and Gala, have been selectively bred over time to be sweeter, not necessarily healthier. A single large Honeycrisp apple can contain up to 25 grams of sugar, nearly as much as 2 glazed donuts. And unlike donuts, apples carry a health halo that leads people to underestimate their glycemic impact. Now, sugar from fruit isn't the same as added sugar, but your body, especially after age 60, doesn't always know the difference. With age comes insulin resistance, slower metabolic function, and weaker vascular elasticity. When you eat a high-sugar apple, especially alone without protein or fat, it can cause a sugar spike, followed by a crash, putting strain on both your pancreas and blood vessels. Here's where things get critical for brain health. Repeated glucose spikes over time can lead to endothelial dysfunction, a condition where the inner lining of your blood vessels becomes inflamed and less responsive. According to the American Diabetes Association, these fluctuations contribute directly to the formation of blood clots, plaque buildup, and vascular stiffness, all key risk factors for stroke. In fact, in a 2020 study published in the journal Neurology, researchers found that older adults with more frequent post-meal blood sugar spikes had a higher risk of silent brain infarcts, small strokes that often go unnoticed but contribute to memory loss and cognitive decline. Now, I'm not saying apples are bad, but I am saying that how, when, and what kind of apple you eat matters more than you might think, especially if you're over 60. Dr. Charles' Guidelines for Smarter Apple Consumption. Choose lower sugar varieties like Granny Smith or Pink Lady. They have more polyphenols and less sugar. Always pair your apple with a source of protein or fat, like almond butter, a boiled egg, or Greek yogurt. This slows down sugar absorption and protects your blood vessels. Never eat apples right before bed. Nighttime is when your brain and blood vessels are most vulnerable. Late-night sugar spikes equals overnight clot risk. If you're insulin resistant, monitor your blood sugar after eating fruit, even apples. One final thought I always share with my older patients. A healthy food in the wrong body at the wrong time becomes unhealthy. In your 30s, a sweet apple is a great snack. In your 70s, it's a variable that needs to be managed with precision. Next, we'll talk about a fruit that's widely praised for its antioxidants, but may be dangerous for people on blood thinners. Cherries. Part 7. Cherries. When blood thinners and natural compounds collide. At first glance, cherries seem like the perfect health snack. They're rich in antioxidants, full of colorful polyphenols, and often recommended for reducing inflammation and supporting heart health. But here's a side most seniors never hear about. Cherries contain natural compounds called salicylates, which act similarly to aspirin. For most people, this isn't a big deal. But if you're already on prescription blood thinners, like warfarin, Coumadin, clopidogrel Plavix, or even a daily aspirin, this combo can quietly become a ticking time bomb. Let me explain. Salicylates are found in varying amounts in many plant-based foods, but cherries, especially tart and dark sweet varieties, are among the most concentrated fruit sources. When you combine high salicylate intake with pharmaceutical blood thinners, you amplify their effect. The result: your blood becomes too thin and your vessels too fragile, increasing the risk of spontaneous bleeding, including in the brain. According to the National Institutes of Health (NIH), excessive thinning of the blood can lead to hemorrhagic stroke, where a weakened vessel ruptures, causing internal bleeding in the brain. While ischemic strokes caused by clots are more common, hemorrhagic strokes are deadlier and often harder to detect until it's too late. And here's what's even more dangerous. This effect is slow, subtle, and accumulative. You may feel perfectly fine until one day you suddenly experience dizziness, blurred vision, slurred speech, or even collapse. Many physicians have reported cases where medication dosages were correct, but the dietary additions, like excess cherries, tipped the balance toward disaster. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, neurosurgeon and CNN's chief medical correspondent, once said, "What you eat can enhance or interfere with your medications. Nutrition and pharmacology are always in conversation, even if you don't hear them." So what's the solution? You don't have to give up cherries, but you do have to respect them. Dr. Charles' safe cherry consumption tips. If you're on blood thinners, limit intake to no more than a half cup of cherries per day. Avoid cherry juice, dried cherries, or extracts. They're more concentrated and more likely to spike salicylate levels. Never combine cherries with aspirin or over-the-counter NSAIDs without speaking to your doctor. Watch for early signs of internal bleeding, prolonged bruising, gum bleeding, or persistent fatigue. And always remember, food is medicine, but when combined with actual medicine, it becomes a prescription of its own. In our next and final section, we'll examine a fruit that looks innocent, but may carry one of the heaviest pesticide loads in your kitchen, and its shocking connection to brain inflammation and microstrokes: strawberries. Part 8. Strawberries, the red flag hidden in the fruit bowl. They're bright, sweet, and heart-shaped, often seen as the romantic jewel of the fruit world. But for older adults, strawberries may come with a darker side: pesticide exposure and neurotoxicity. Let's get into it. Strawberries consistently rank 1 on the Environmental Working Group's EWG Dirty Dozen list, which highlights the fruits and vegetables with the highest pesticide residue levels. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, a single strawberry can carry residues of 20+ different pesticides, even after washing. Now, why does this matter for seniors? As we age, our bodies become less efficient at detoxifying chemicals. The liver slows down, kidney filtration declines, and our blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable, which means toxins have easier access to sensitive brain tissue. Many pesticides used on conventionally grown strawberries are known neurotoxins. This includes organophosphates, which have been linked in studies by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, NIEHS, to increased risk of cognitive decline, Parkinson's disease, and vascular damage in older populations. Here's the chain reaction. Repeated exposure to these chemicals, even in small amounts, builds up in fat tissues and the brain. This leads to oxidative stress, where free radicals damage brain cells. Over time, this weakens vessel walls and increases the likelihood of microstrokes, small, often undetectable strokes that accumulate silently, but lead to long-term impairment. A 2019 study published in Environmental Health Perspectives found that seniors with higher levels of pesticide exposure had significantly more markers of white matter damage, a sign of vascular deterioration in the brain, than those who consumed mostly organic produce. So what can you do? Dr. Charles' Safe Strawberry Guide for Brain-Conscious Seniors. Choose organic strawberries whenever possible. The difference in pesticide load is dramatic. If organic isn't available, soak conventional strawberries in a baking soda and water solution. 1 tsp per 2 cups of water, for at least 15 minutes. Eat strawberries with antioxidant-rich foods like walnuts or dark chocolate to help buffer oxidative stress. Limit intake to a few times per week, especially if you consume other high-risk fruits. And here's my reminder. A fruit that's good for your heart shouldn't poison your brain. In our later years, quality matters more than quantity. Strawberries can be a part of a healthy diet, but only when approached with knowledge and care. Next, we'll wrap up this series with a surprising tropical fruit that's often marketed as a superfood, but can quietly disrupt blood sugar, medications, and vascular balance. Mango. Part 9. Mango, the exotic sweet that spikes more than sugar. Few fruits are as seductive as the mango. Its tropical sweetness, buttery texture, and vitamin-packed reputation have earned it the label of a superfruit. But for adults over 60, especially those dealing with blood pressure, diabetes, or vascular conditions, mangoes may deliver more danger than delight. Let's take a closer look. Mangoes are rich in fructose, with a single medium mango containing around 45 grams of sugar. That's more than a can of soda. Unlike glucose, which is absorbed and used by most cells, fructose is processed exclusively by the liver. And in excess, it can lead to fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, and inflammatory blood vessel damage. But there's more to the story. Mangoes are also high in vitamin K, which can interfere with certain medications, especially warfarin Coumadin, a common blood thinner used by stroke and heart attack survivors. Vitamin K helps the blood clot, which is the exact opposite of what these medications are intended to do. The result? Fluctuating INR levels, poor medication control, and increased risk of either clotting or hemorrhaging, depending on the timing and dose. To quote Dr. Joseph Maroon, clinical professor of neurosurgery at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, natural doesn't always mean harmless, especially when it's part of a high-interference food like mango that alters metabolism, medication function, and vascular tone. There's also the issue of glycemic timing. Many people enjoy mango as a dessert after dinner, which is the worst time to spike your blood sugar. At night, insulin response weakens, circulation slows, and sugar lingers in the bloodstream longer, raising inflammation and increasing the chance of nocturnal hypertension and microvascular damage in the brain. Consider this comparison. Fruit sugar per cup, vitamin K risk for seniors. Mango 23g high blood sugar spike, medication interference. Pear 14g low high fiber, better glycemic control. It's not about demonizing mango. It's about understanding its metabolic weight. Dr. Charles, mango safety tips. If you're on warfarin or any anticoagulant, monitor your INR levels closely if consuming mango. Limit mango to a half cup per serving, and only a few times per week. Avoid mango smoothies or juices, which remove fiber and concentrate sugar. Always pair mango with healthy fat or protein, like a few cashews or a boiled egg, to blunt the sugar spike. And my personal rule of thumb: treat tropical fruits like tropical vacations, enjoyable but not every day, and only when they don't clash with your medications. In our final part, we'll uncover one fruit often marketed to improve heart health and hydration, but that may silently increase stroke risk and blood pressure variability in seniors. Coconut water and raw coconut flesh. Part 10. Coconut, the stroke trap in a shell. Coconut is often portrayed as the holy grail of tropical health. Whether it's raw coconut meat, coconut water, or coconut oil, this fruit has made its way into smoothies, health drinks, and even the medicine cabinets of aging adults looking for natural ways to improve hydration, energy, or brain health. But as a neurologist, I've seen another side of coconut, particularly in seniors on blood pressure or heart medications. Let's break it down. First, coconut water isn't just water. Yes, it hydrates, but it's also loaded with potassium, often 600 to 700 mg per cup, depending on the brand. That's more than a whole banana, and yet many people drink coconut water in large quantities, especially after exercise or during hot weather. For healthy young adults, this might not be an issue, but for seniors, especially those with mild kidney dysfunction, on ACE inhibitors, or taking diuretics, this can quickly lead to hyperkalemia, a dangerous rise in blood potassium that can trigger irregular heart rhythm, muscle weakness, numbness, sudden drop in blood pressure, and yes, increased stroke risk. According to the Cleveland Clinic, coconut water's potassium levels are too high for individuals with compromised kidney function and should be consumed only under medical super. Second, raw coconut meat is high in saturated fat. Raw coconut contains about 9 grams of saturated fat per ounce. That's nearly half the recommended daily intake for an older adult. Saturated fat in excess is known to increase LDL cholesterol, which contributes to plaque buildup in arteries. Over time, this narrows the vessels that feed your brain, raising the risk of ischemic strokes. Now you might say, but I thought coconut fat is different. It's medium-chain triglycerides, MCTs. That's only partly true. While MCTs do have some benefits in very controlled doses, the coconut meat you buy at the store is a blend of MCTs and long-chain saturated fats that can harm the vascular system when consumed in large or frequent quantities. Lastly, coconut and medication interactions. Coconut water also interacts with certain medications, especially beta blockers, which reduce your body's ability to excrete potassium. Combine beta blockers with a tall glass of coconut water, and you may be putting your cardiovascular system under hidden stress without even knowing it. It's not just about the food, it's about how that food behaves inside an aging body, as I often remind my patients. Dr. Charles, Coconut Guidelines for Seniors. Limit coconut water to 4 ounces or less per day, and avoid it entirely if you're on potassium-sparing medications. Avoid snacking on raw coconut meat daily. Treat it like dessert. If using coconut oil, do so sparingly. And choose virgin cold-pressed options. Always check with your doctor before adding coconut products to your diet if you have kidney issues, high blood pressure, or take medications that affect electrolytes. And my final word of caution: the more natural a food seems, the more people assume it's harmless. But in medicine, assumptions can be dangerous. That wraps up our exploration of fruits that may secretly raise your stroke risk overnight, despite their healthy reputations. The goal isn't fear, it's awareness. Because what protects a 30-year-old may poison a 70-year-old, depending on your medications, organ function, and vascular health. Part 11. Final thoughts: feeding the brain you want to keep. We've covered a lot. From bananas to grapes, pineapple to coconut, each of these seemingly healthy fruits can quietly become problematic for older adults, especially when eaten at the wrong time, paired poorly or not at all, combined with medications, or hidden medical conditions like kidney disease or insulin resistance. Now let me be clear, fruit is not the enemy, but context is everything. As Dr. Mark Hyman of the Cleveland Clinic often says, food is information. Every bite you take is a set of instructions you give to your body. And when your body is older, those instructions must be more precise. Magnifying glass tilted left, so what can we take away from all this? Let me break it down into 5 key lessons I share with all of my patients over 60. 1. Timing is critical. Never eat high sugar or acidic fruits before bed. That's when blood flow slows, medications are peaking, and your brain is most vulnerable. Morning or early afternoon is safest. 2. Pair your fruit wisely. Don't let fruit go solo. Always pair with protein like nuts, cheese, or Greek yogurt, or healthy fat to buffer sugar spikes and promote slower absorption. 3. Talk to your doctor, especially if you're on heart, blood pressure, diabetes, or kidney medications. Ask about interactions with high potassium fruits or natural sugars. 4. Listen to your body's age, not just its habits. What worked in your 30s might not serve you in your 70s. Your organs process things differently now, especially your kidneys, liver, and vascular system. 5. Choose protective fruits over risky ones. Stick with berries, low sugar, high antioxidants. Avocados, rich in healthy fat. Citrus in moderation, especially clementines or lemon water instead of orange juice. Apples with skin, but only lower sugar varieties like Granny Smith. Brain final message from Dr. Charles: your brain is listening to what you eat, to how you sleep, to how your blood flows at 2 a.m. And as I often remind my older patients, every bite you take after 60 is either medicine or it's maintenance. Make your food work for you, not against you. There's a powerful freedom that comes with understanding how your body works, especially when the world is filled with conflicting health messages. My hope is that this video didn't just inform you, but empowered you to take ownership of your diet, your habits, and your health. And remember, a stroke doesn't warn you, it waits for you to ignore the signs. Let's not give it that chance. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone you love, especially someone over 60 who thinks fruit is always safe. It might just save their life.